Has KT MacFarland. She's a former deputy national security advisor to President Trump and the author of Revolution, Trump, Washington, and We the People. KT, as always, nice to speak with you today.
Well, it's great to be with you. Thank you.
Okay, this a big announcement, the one that causes everyone to stagger backwards, going, whoa, 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 what is this? And obviously, I was talking about this in the last half hour, KT. Your spidey senses go up because you're on guard for anywhere where American troops might have to get involved. What do you make of the president's announcement? What does it mean to you, having studied him so closely?
The thing about Donald Trump is that the reaction to some of his out-of-the-box, off-the-cuff proposals is as follows. First, he says something totally out of the box, and people say, oh, that's crazy. And then people think about it for a while, and then by the time they've thought about it, they think, maybe it's not that bad an idea. And then they finally conclude, hey, that's actually a brilliant idea. I mean, look at Greenland, for example. When he said we want to buy Greenland, everyone's, oh, that's just terrible, terrible idea. But then you think about it, oh, well, Greenland has oil. It has rare earth minerals, which we don't have a lot of. It's a strategic location because it protects North America from the Arctic and from the Atlantic. And, if there's a maritime trade route that goes over the top of the North Pole, Greenland is crucial. So people then thinking, maybe that's not such a bad idea that we have some kind of a security relationship with Israel, with Greenland. But the Israel-Gaza thing, my first reaction was, oh, that's crazy. And then I thought about it. And I thought, wait a minute, there are 1.5 million Palestinians in Gaza. We have several alternatives. Israel could occupy it forever, which would be a horrible situation. You'd have constant war. Everybody could leave, which means that the Palestinians would just re-elect Hamas, and they would go at it all over again, Hamas 2.0. Mm-hmm. And I guess you could send the UN in, but the UN's pretty compromised of its relationship with Hamas and the Palestinians. So how do we think outside the box? And when President Trump says maybe we can just have them leave for a while, rebuild it, clear out the landmines, the rubble that's from city to city, build it into a modern, sort of Dubai-like resort. And then you'd have jobs for the Palestinians who came back. The ones who don't want to come back, you can relocate in the neighboring countries. And it would all of a sudden go from the world's biggest cesspool, biggest failure, to a potentially a great success. So you got to flesh out these details, Vince. But it's not so crazy as it initially sounds.
Does an announcement like that from the President of the United States have the effect of scaring people back to the negotiating table? In other words, like this is a deeply entrenched and long-running problem that explodes in fits of terrorism by Iranian-backed proxies from time to time, including the dreadful attack of October 7th. Israel responds in kind, trying to stop these attacks from ever occurring again. And there seems to be a lot of resistance for people to even come to the negotiating table to resolve all of it, given all of the animosity that's headed in every direction. I mean, if the President of the United States says, how about this? How about I turn Gaza into U.S. territory? Does that kind of shake everybody out of their normal pattern and say, okay, wait a second, let's see if we can resolve this before that happens?
The other thing he said yes, absolutely. And you're really right to say that he likes to shake things up to get people out of their normal thinking patterns. But the other thing he said today is we're reimposing the sanctions on Iran. And what he said a couple of days before that is we're going to drill, baby, drill. We're changing American energy policy, so we're no longer having a war on American fossil fuels. We're now going to encourage them. So if you're Iran, I think the biggest problem in the Middle East, you're looking at this and saying, hey, wait a minute, my income stream is just going to be cut in half. Trump's going to make it so that I can't sell oil, and even the oil that I'll figure out how to sell, it won't be worth as much on the open market as it was. So all of a sudden, Iran, which really had been financing a lot of the terrorist activities, Hezbollah, Hamas, they're now thinking, ooh, maybe we need to cut back on our budgets. Maybe we can't afford this. And so he just changes the dynamics, not just the one thing he said about Gaza. That's what's got everybody eyebrows raised.
Yep.
But it's all the other stuff around it.
Yeah, and so when Joe Biden came into office, he eased up on Iran so dramatically that it made Iran absurdly wealthy again, and to the point that they were able to fund all of these terror attacks. It seems to me that President Trump is reverting back to the plan that he had for Iran in the first term.
Yes, which was to bankrupt Iran. When President Trump took office, oil was, $130, $40 a barrel in the Obama administration. President Trump had a very oil-friendly, business-friendly policies. The price of oil, American companies produced more and more. We exported more. The price of oil fell by 2/3. So oil was about $50 a barrel. And then at that point, Russia couldn't afford to invade Ukraine. They didn't have the money. Iran couldn't afford to support its proxies to invade Israel or to war against Israel. At the end of President Trump's term, Iran was really hurting. They had very high inflation. They have a very well-educated and sophisticated population that every couple of years sort of rises up against the mullahs.
Yeah.
And the Iranians were very worried that they had to really feed their own people first. So they were cutting back on all of their funding for Hezbollah and Hamas. Well, President Trump leaves office, Iran almost bankrupt, almost forced to go to the negotiating table on our terms, and then President Biden comes in and, as you say, just threw them an economic lifeline. They probably got an extra $125 billion
yes.
over what they would have had if Trump had remained president.
I get the impression, just from just reading news reports on what's going on with Iran, that the Ayatollah there is very nervous about maybe the stability of his regime, but especially his own life. He's attending events on occasion, and when he goes, he's believed to be wearing bulletproof vests now. That is not the sign of a strong leader. That's one who's kind of fragile and kind of skittish right now. What do you make of the current state of play in Iran, KT?
Well, if you look back over the last 20 years of Iran, there have been various incidents over the years which have caused popular uprisings. And it's usually the middle class that's revolting, saying, our economic conditions are bad. We want more attention. We're not really buying into this kill all the Israelis, destroy all the Jews. And so the Iranian leadership has a very restive population. Also, the Iranian leadership isn't unified. There's the military leadership, the IRG, Revolutionary Guards,
Yep.
and that group, and then there are the mullahs, the religious leaders, and there's always a little bit of tension across the two of them. But remember what happened, what was it, 2 months ago when Israel had all those various series of attacks against senior Hamas and Hezbollah leaders and just really wiped them out? One of the most significant attacks was that the Israelis assassinated the senior Hamas political leader in Tehran, blocks from where all the mullahs live.
This was inside that VIP guest house, right, where they had wired bombs many months apparently before.
Yeah, so if you're a leader in Iran, you're thinking, whoa, the Israelis somehow figured out how to kill somebody just a few blocks away who's under our protection. Maybe I will wear my bulletproof vest.
Yes. Yeah. And so then the final piece here that I want to hit with Iran and the reason why all these sanctions exist in the first place is the effort to, first of all, to settle down their terrorism, but also to prevent them from obtaining a nuclear weapon. KT, I feel like I'm like every time I read headlines about how close are they, it's always like they're days away from getting a nuclear weapon. What's the truth here? How close is Iran to having a nuclear weapon that they can actually deliver at long ranges? What can President Trump do to stop that?
The key question is what you just said, deliver at long ranges. There are three things you need to have a nuclear weapon. You need enriched uranium. We know they've done that. We know they have probably enough enriched uranium to make, who knows, maybe 4 or 5 bombs. The second thing you need is the system that makes it go boom, right? The ignition system, the blueprint. We think they've got a pretty good blueprint, maybe not the most sophisticated weapon, but they think we're probably pretty close, but we're not. That's where we're the most unsure. And then the final thing is a missile that you can put a nuclear weapon on and then shoot it off to somebody, 5,000 miles away, 400 miles away. Other countries in the past have tested nuclear weapons without the missiles. They've had the uranium, they've had the blueprint, they literally put it on the back of a truck and they deliver it, they test it, they say, see, we have nuclear weapons. If Iran wanted to do that latter, where they would say, we just want to show that we can do it, nobody knows. But it's not 3 years away. Is it 3 days away? Probably not. But it's somewhere in there. And they could also make a the thing a lot of people like me have been worried about is it's great. Iran is so vulnerable right now. Israel's taken out their proxy militaries, their missile defense systems. Iran is quite vulnerable. And now President Trump is going to make them economically vulnerable. Are the Iranian leadership thinking, yikes, the only thing we've got left is that bomb. Should we race to get a bomb? Or will they say maybe we should race to the negotiating table? And we don't know.
I guess we'll see. There's a whole bunch of reasons to trust President Trump as he handles all of this, and I hope this is one of those areas too. I really do. KT MacFarland, thank you very, very much as always.